The blackest cauldron, the gray one, the clear, the timeless method, the means just appear. Yeah. Hello, species value nature systems. This is species coach. Now, this is what we're going to do. What we can't do, we have to have the locations, areas, and states of each modern nation showing how to fathom what's coming. Because they're right now, they're criminally foreign influence here, there, every modern nation, each identity ground location. That's self value too. That already was used remote. That already was preventing and is preventing free speech offensively while they are off originally and still offensively. Criminal readings of the statutes used to hide what they already had to do, which is hide live aggressions, which was roles with what made them need to hide those live aggressions years before they did, through what is fluent through our nations but not sourced by one. It is maintenance to its means and needs by the opinion natures of each identity of science, each database relationship since before computers, each identity of government of the branches of government, all private tied to them, all service tied to them, all database relationships. The ancient campus Marcius, the ancient republic for it's of the ancient republic. This republic and its sciences are still criminally re-engineered, still self-valued criminally re-engineered. Value has a relationship to positive and negative. Positive and negative has a relationship to identity. Identity has a native identity of value progression system as logic's identity, as five bonded identities of sequence nature, as one identity of sequence natures, identity of relationship to itself and the value of that, which is increasing. This is how it is self-generating. It only increases this identity of volume. That is some distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously onto and as all parts of temporary slash lasting space nature. This is forever's course. This is what Santa Claus is about. See, Santa Claus has been prevented everyone being good, not just all year round. But I mean, is the importance of this is forever nature's course. But if the species is good together, actually, all year round, evolution's fruits and gifts are revealed. It means, see, human relations we're taking as a tool, as a breaching tool in relationship to human fact, treatment, nature, obligations by them, for why really we are a species, individual, grouped, and together as an identity, the ground relationship. Could go fly off into space, you're still an identity, the ground relationship. The engineering of what it takes to make you to be able to survive in outer space. It's just another context of the same identity, the ground relationship. We are engineering per native system that these modern systems are tactically ulterior from, not just unequally, where they have them employed to breaching positions that were entrenched here since before the births of America's founding parents, that were entrenched in other nations since before their founding parents. This keeps, by having kept and this kept the identity of the sciences, the inclusion with an archetypal criminal enterprise. I'm not a lawyer, not a police firm, not a criminal. This is what is actually recorded too. Now, see, we have branches of government that make theories about us, pretend we make conspiracy theories instead of letting us use the actually recorded. They're lying about what is actually recorded over the phones. They're lying about what is actually recorded over their locations, interbranch, individually grouped and together, maintained identities, each individual grouped and together, all tied to them. Victims, but victim predators. Forgiveness is what was for because they what was so when we speak about the law and what's how everyone's fake with it, we can have free speech, but they weren't letting free speech. They weren't letting forgiveness because they're lying. They're blaming other people for what they were doing. What were witch trials about? Even if they were, especially if they were made up, they were about how our judicial branch and how our executive branches of government were you and are used through criminal foreign influences, hoax, high omegas alpha extinguishes. So alpha's value is only positive onto and as itself when it is positive to the identity that is both alpha, omega, and more than that. And it is more than that further, which is forcing alpha and omega to two increasing volumes that will not mix but one way. Hear many pray, like sings. Alpha and omega are two different identities of sequence nature. Simultaneously, they are both simultaneous nature as a semi-nature relationship to the identity of value progression that has humanity engineered individual grouped in together. So the individual is a complete nature of volume because one nature of volume has to and can and only will stay positive onto itself. As an increasing nature of volume, how it is self-generating. All exceptions in exception nature are in demonstration of this. Leith of Hadith is in demonstration of this. I didn't read this about Leith of Hadith, but if you take what it really is about is force space nature transfer. Science reveals this. This is not asking faith. And this is only the extent of it is debatable that and how we are forever nature as value. See, but those extents of such thing are offensively debated with criminally foreign influence premises treatment, sequence treatments, with that juxtaposed with physical delusions. Defenses of that as the identities, the locations, all of them, formal and informal. That means private and interbranch. All on and off their locations used to fabricate informations into databases. Effectively recorded, kept self-valuing roles with that with people they don't even know. Take it to collusion with them. And this is in a sustained way. Hear many pray. So they have all the locations. We have shared policing of streets, roads, highways, locations at the end of highways. We have negotiations, what they call negotiations with other nations, unceasingly, increasingly. That's forced not only by nature, but by these systems that are all nature forced to deny nature's actual complete course, proper course, sequence true, preventing mandated law using, and worse, using the crime methods of, oh, well, we asked our sources into branch, and they said, all right, in other words, interbranch lies when I speak. dozens of people with Hartford courts, with New Britain Superior Court, before the World Trade Center attack, leading up to it. They were involved with intercities, worse than interstates, coordinated, worse than organized crime, worse than war crimes, uses of intercities locations, areas, states, locations, especially and distinctly, not distinctly, on off campuses, differentially. So, and see, the more they do it on campus, the more and more intercampuses of each age and nature are maintain self-valued roles with means and needs to hide life aggressions by pretending that investigators and investigations are legitimately doing those investigations and being those investigators legitimately when they're incapable of that. They're involved with this database method that is sequence racketeering, with sequence organized crime, worse than worse crimes. It is finite, the value of the order of the finite crimes. It is the value to the order of what is active crimes. Simultaneously, the value between them, as simultaneously the value of what is progressive, a value here now. And as still as all identity ground locations recorded criminally foreign influence per that breaching method that forced our founders with no free speech, no means to even fathom liberating people from slavery, even after the Revolutionary War. Revolutionary war is not a revolution. War that ends with compromises that are the value of the Constitution abridged. That is not revolution. America lost on many fronts in the American Revolution, but not to one nation, but to and as what is fluent through each nation. Uses of how nations were forced originally and still precedents and statutes only capable of blaming other things, others themselves, for the real causes of predicate acts, for the real causes of mass criminal insidious natures, mass wrongdoing, wrongdoers. That's what slavery was about. It's about the captivity of revolution's evolution, which is its liberation. It's one, it's victory. See, there are three natures of victory. There is just like there's unity against that is forced, unity that is self-valued, for example, by fake sides and collusion against our nature. And there is unity that's trying to be, it is also trying to be our complete nature's actual native value progression system, which is an identity ground relationship to itself. 5 bonded identities of sequence nature, 5 bonded identities of positive, bonded but per what is self-generating, as an identity of relationship to itself that is inseparable from all parts of itself, even the smallest part and the biggest parts. The value of the order of the finite is in demonstration of this. Sequence, exceptions in exception nature is in demonstration of this. Where and how value is nature, and nature is value simultaneously. And this being where nature has a positive or negative relationship to its identity of value progression as a whole bunch of bonded identities, like as all the bonded identities of our body are. Simultaneously semi-nature relationships to our complete identity. That again simultaneously a semi-nature relationship with grouped in areas. I mean grouped in species, nature of volume. Because and this comes to Earth's distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space nature, which only can be properly demonstrated per science that uses how this identity of value progression has an identity of relationship to itself that is distinct and non-distinct out of all the parts of itself in a way that causes the simultaneous increase of all the distinct parts of temporary / lasting space nature. Increase of value differentially and sequentially, but simultaneously. How simultaneously? And so I'll do a video on the God variable, which God is an algebraic variable. The ancients understood how to use logic, how logic works this way. And many pray. See, now we have experts on logic, criminally foreign influenced, having covered it up with whole crime methods recorded, worse than organized crime methods. Now the military has also self-valued roles with this. No one has time, but they make opinions anyway. When people point this out, originally and still, we had obligations to demonstrate that and how overtly, simultaneously, insidiously, but overtly, each branch of government, each of their identity, the ground locations were are criminally foreign influenced in relationship to each age of correlation nature's needs by our nature's native course. Way of logic, not criminally foreign influence delusions raw. It's all right if people want to have opinions but then don't block mandated law and pretend people are speaking about theory. Don't pretend that we're speaking about our emotions just because we have to when we have to respond to interbranch collusion with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and all the people associated with that. Not people, and then they pretend criminally too that you're speaking bad about people. These are people they brought up. The same people now who are adults, when they were kids, they were involved with various natures of courts, various natures of police forms, former director of the FBI down. Since before he was born, all gather round. Robert Luskin. Like since in the 50s, they have like I believe it was on PBS one time. I saw about how Russians and Americans they spy on each other with the technology. Now there's a Leahy family, a whole bunch of doctors that attach me to fake conversations about police equipment. And they did to be able to have me to be able to pretend that was true. They forged names, switched names, attached me to locations next to people, standing next to people I would never even stood next to. Attached me to fake locations, interbranched since I was a kid. Other kids, they did this too. On and off campuses, they sequence shift. They have mayors criminally foreign influenced. They have people who have jobs. Each of the identity of sciences, their database relationships, their stewards, their family members. Kept needing to hide lie progressions, can't do that and defend each age of correlation nature's needs by the identity of the sciences with no criminal foreign influences. Per our fact treatment nature's simple but way more extensive than it is prevented. Free speech per offensive, all private, all interbranch sources. Delusions wrought and criminally foreign influenced. Evaluation of the validity of information. So we have the intelligence community involved with and as what is used remotely originally and still. Now, I never had a conversation with a Chet Casper in my life. I never had a class with him. I never had a class with my town's police chief's daughter or her husband, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Further involved with a whole bunch of other people with child campuses in my town, connected to organized crime worse than war crimes with the colleges and universities in intercities, interbranch from my town, worse than interstates, also simultaneously, worse than just internations. This is recorded consciously, involved with uses of the identity of Ukraine and their relationships to UPS, involved also with various natures of courts and their family members, with an Oliveri family, with a Joshua Stryker. I never had a conversation with Josh Stryker in my life. He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also with women associated with a Heather Hansen, with a Charlie Bowes. Also, I never had a conversation with Charlie Bowes in my life. Never had a class with him. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts on off Trinity College. Also with other police forms, people with whole careers, retired and standing interbranch, involved with a whole bunch of other nations and overt criminal enterprises. You roles with the same houses, with other natures of predicate acts, methods, and motivations, and methods of hiding them also recorded with federal criminal co-defendants, a former director of the FBI. In other cases, and their uses of them with the roles with the schools, Local 230 is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with how our identities interbranch, pretend passionate emotions when they were investigating things and pretending to perceive people to be guilty of crimes since before the real killers were revealed. Those killers are recorded. See, they're using how they have killers associated with job sites, how they have that juxtaposed with overt criminal enterprises, with private ones originally still forced to be self-valued, and how they're kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering acts roles, crime methods pretending that the sequence relationship they draw, it goes, you tell the police don't help you, then you come to court and sue. The courts have been using their locations to forge names, switch names, and pretend fake things into databases in collusion with the crimes, with the locations, areas, and states, and with the other nations, locked into their uses of their identities. Americans and Russians, for example, and Ukraine, they're involved with all kinds of medical racketeering, with psychology, with medicine tied to this, involved with all the various natures of courts, not just one nature of court, district courts, probate courts with elderly, with drugs, countering bodies used to further those problems. With sexual abuse, countering bodies used to further those abuses against each age, not by accident, methodically. That's actually recorded. So we have a bunch of people with the Department of Transportation and the Department of Motor Vehicles. I don't even know, barely know. The only ones and the one that I know of, only in context where they can't be honest. Like a Perone family recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering acts, roles with people on off Town Line Drive. I don't know the names of. Pretending passions and emotions. They set up instances before that also, pretending passions and emotions so they could pretend such at such a location, that location. a Tony DeMoro, a Joe DeMoro, Pakistani families, other families recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that a whole bunch of people in the Britain Superior Court involved with them, with my new and past neighbors, also involved with them, like with a Bob Chase and with a Phil Cololo, further recorded, a whole bunch of people tied to the house/SMI area. Further than now, crimed with a principal sex offenders campus. As people further recorded, confessed, and demonstrated through time involved with connected racketeering uses, worse than racketeering uses, of each of the child campuses in my town through time with connected ways, connected to bonded crime methods they have by one, which is, for example, a sequence racketeering method that maintains that self value because this is a method of maintaining self value, roles preventing what everyone's nature naturally longs to communicate and to understand about this identity the ground relationship we are as a value/value nature progression, as a quality of diffusion, automatically as temporary positive. But that temporary positive also has a temporary slash lasting positive or negative relationship to itself, not as what is realized known, but in relationship to another value, to the complete value nature system, where the perfect world is not forsaken, where what forsakes the perfect world is evidence. See, we have the opinions of the branches of government as evidence, but they have been criminally pretending writing into databases and criminally preventing writing. Now to cover their live progressions from that, they need to pretend delusions, like with their narratives with facts finding, with their narratives in relationship to sequence treatments with that. They're involved with sequence racketeering, pretending blaming other people. They who smell it, deal it, dealt it. Both parties of government, all the constituencies of the candidates of both political parties, all alternatives. They are fake sides of correlation natures. Means. Those of and as evolution's means. So this semi-ancient method knew that it could hurt semi-ancient nations, and they could get that as means to make locations, areas, and states rightfully devalue the value of internation sciences, not realizing they were wrongfully doing that, doing it wrong too tactically, affected to it by a method that knew that would cause them to self-value roles within as fact treatment nature style, science treatment nature, sensibility standing as criminal and seditious nature, with nature demonstrating negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, demonstrating the loss of the points of the identities of possession already revealed to perfection within as this system that really revealed the ancient republic for which we stand. The species working together did. Its campuses, systems, these modern languages. These are sounds that have ancients revealed, have identities of relationships to themselves. As one identity of relationship to themselves, too. They have an individual grouped, and together they have an identity of relationship to itself. Each value, Each letter is a body of value as nature. It is simultaneously nature as value. And this is simultaneously with the complete course, which is two other identities of value bonded with those two same natures too. And the value of that further. This is what English is revealed to teach. A, B, and C are bonded, for example, as a complete identity of volume, simultaneously as a semi-nature of volume relationship to the living body of value. They are increasing identity of volume. They are as the complete 26 letters / values of the English language. So this is 30 minutes. This is no one. I think my videos are too long, but this is only extensive. See, we have people using time always too fast, too slow, in relationship to all that is manifest, where the jobs of even the sciences and that preparing the people for jobs. Originally, still that is in collusion with and as what was used remotely originally and still since before electronic definitions of remote. It was used as lipogressions from each formal fact should be nature position, further and further to each identity, the ground, location, area, and state, attacked effectively having been maintained, a semi-ancient trap, effectively self-valued, rolls with it. Now, value has this relationship to positive and negative again, which is simultaneously identity's course, which is native pure, no matter who we are. That just increases the value of Native Americans. But when they make opinions blaming the wrong things, others themselves, even when especially when they're doing it right too. Like for example, the phenomenon of how white people say, but did I see my the blackest cauldron, the gray one, the clear, the timeless method, the means just appear. Here, evolution's fruits and gifts and means one way redeems. So we have to understand actually recorded uses of words like democracy, self-valued roles with that, defenses of that, how they were invested, having been and being used remotely, having been used remotely to defend themselves with that. So we have all that is actually manifest in relationship to all along roads, routes, and highways, all along each identity of the ground, locations, distinctions, difference, which has a tie to our fact-achieving nature quality, and reactions in relationship to originally instilled all roles with sequence racketeering for what is really originally instilled most evil, most best equipped and as to counter all that evil. Everyone wants to forget this. Chase positive, but as negative, and not just unequally on paper. This is a method that keeps each individual of each position of the human fact-achieving nature. You could be the most powerful type of leader there can be. If you're still going to have states, areas, all locations, areas, and states, all sciences, all private, already having been life progressions and valued roles by that with precedents and statutes, criminally foreign influence, delusions wrought, that already haven't been exploited through all kinds of other natures of motivations, needs, interests, self-valued right there to pretend are real, even if it is real too. But what really keeps the negative value nature, progressive action natures, comes through criminal foreign influences. But it's not sourced by one. And it is per this method recorded effectively, having kept and keeping each nation through what they call negotiations, through what they call agreements, through what they call peaceful means. Totally opposite of that, way worse than totally opposite of that. Humanity is an identity of negative value nature progression, self-valued. And again, value is identity's course. It's all right if they want to make opinions. It's all right if they want to say, I have opinions and theories. Pick one name and sequence, then into branch and get on to writing. They're lying when they say and respond for their confessions. So there are a whole bunch of people associated with downtown Hartford, and there's a pattern of people on off Two Rod Highway, where it runs into Hangdog Lane, associated with this Della Fair family, associated with Fox Connecticut News, associated with WTNH, associated with WFSB, associated with how they play softball together a bunch of times, associated with how they don't value me for being able to demonstrate this, how they are used remotely as victims, but as victim predators for their roles with judges and with prosecutors, and with their physical delusions and crime methods pretending not to realize, lying about what is actually recorded over phones, lying about what is actually recorded with interbranch locations, knowing, and they say, oh, where's the evidence? Now, these are people also having roles with actually recorded confessions and depositions also that demonstrate them also recorded further. A whole bunch of people tied to former director of the FBI, former foreign and domestic, involved with crimes with child sex offenders, different child sex offenders' families further involved with racketeering with their patients and criminals before they got caught. They also have doctors with badges, and fake doctors online making theories about people who ask to report specific crime acts, rape threats against little kids, uses of the Facebook pages, interbranch and intercampuses for crimes with child sex offenders' families, then and further with the principal sex offenders campus. See, they have the sensibilities of online platforms. They have the people that work for them involved. In other words, they're all kept needing to lie about what is actually recorded online. We have the Connecticut State Police. We have a whole bunch of Wethersfield police retired and standing, chief down, involved racketeering acts with military police, former director of the FBI, overt criminal enterprises, all with the same houses, all as the people further involved with other natures of predicate acts, of motivations for roles with them, as roles with uses of untimely deaths connected on off Trinity College. Same people involved with elections crimes, uses of election spots, racketeering, worse than racketeering. Military too, intermilitary. They're recorded also how kept roles with courts and with military, with database racketeering, worse than racketeering. Now these are also the prisons tied to the various natures of courts. Recorded also confessed and demonstrated crimes with their worst patients and criminals, like child sex offenders. They always say on TV that all in prisons they don't like child sex offenders. Who do they even know about people? They have undercover people, and they have the statutes associated with the private prisons, criminally foreign influence, roles with a whole bunch of other nations. Doctors here and there are involved with all kinds of medical racketeering, all kinds of stuff manifest with the shared policing of CVS, of Walgreens, of drugstores like that, of their location, the uses of their locations. No, also juxtaposed with other identities of businesses. Oh, now this supermarket's going to have this in here, where this identity. These are uses of the identity, each identity of the person, individual, grouped together. Group male and female difference used criminally, remotely too. So not just by themselves, not just by the branches of government, not just by what is recorded actually effectively on off campuses further and further, keeping roles with that from off campuses, also from abroad. All locations used to hide live aggressions. This is where and how the executive branch and the judicial branch have individual crime methods, have group crime methods. They also have the political branch, Congress itself, but they're easy to demonstrate. So we have to have response in writing. They're also using time always too fast, too slow to get over on forever nature. And nature again is identity nature. Here as an identity of volume for this conversation, for this police report. Now they have falsified police reports, attach everyone to fake words, fake locations, fake perceived things. They have physical delusions juxtaposed with their crime methods of bringing up hypotheticals, all kinds of nonsensical things to prevent simple crime acts from being reported. So the people who have to show how there are connections between them also recorded. So a whole bunch of people with a Dillon family, with a Schedule family, tied to them, and Ian up the road, involved with organized crime acts and cover-ups of them with FBI and with various natures of courts and their family members, involved also with various natures of organized crime acts and methods of it, with various natures of foreign and domestic doctors, military, a whole bunch of people associated with Wesleyan College, associated with uses of Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton, people with plays from New York City, involved also with Wethersfield, Connecticut, interbranch, whole bunch of people tied to a Leahy family, and Lombardo family, further with medical racketeering, or with houses in my area involved with them, with crimes with FBI and CIA and their extended family members, crimes with child sex offenders, families already on the list since before they got caught. They were involved as victim predators, pure predators, though, where and as and how it counts. And I'm trying to ask, in other words, so the respond for them, for example, with the crime method of preventing writing, so the courts can continue to use their locations to pretend fake things recorded into databases, as their roles also with human trafficking, as their roles also with Lisa Ling of CNN used to further abuses of each age of fact treating nature of women and girls as a victim of it. But as a victim predator defending identity as told to do her job by CNN, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated further and further needing to be admonished and per them self-valuing that, because then they can pretend it's personal. They confessed and recorded and demonstrated and confirmed roles with CCSU, Nothing personal against them. Strangers made these confessions, demonstrations, recorded predicate acts, and roles with them to me, and against others too, against little girls and boys of each age, intercities, abused by the people from my city, dozens of people from my city, involved with all kinds of evil, all kinds of organized crime acts on and off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices, associated with a whole bunch of people tied to the neighbors of a Spada family, and people associated with this Dillon family, all along the route that goes by the state judicial branch offices. Note Weathersfield Pizza near there. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with sequence racketeering that involved whole age groups involved with it, with database racketeering, worse than racketeering, with prosecutors and people and judges involved with racketeering, also with the Mayano family, worse than racketeering. Now, these are also people with the sequence shifts with them. No, as people that hung around with my neighbor when he was in my schools growing up. Also, as the people involved with schools he didn't even go to, like Trinity College, CCSU, Wesleyan College. Well, I don't know if they ever went to those schools, but a whole bunch of people with those schools were first as kids involved with identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering in ways that they can't defend that and afford to have understood American history and afford to have understood American actually now. So we have identities of law, of titles that are highly valued in relationship to identities of impositions and worse, but they didn't have to be. This brings relief to this changes our quality of fact-shaping nature. That simultaneously, instantly changes the nature of human relations. It is recorded that effectively, each modern nation is effectively self-valuing the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures like predicate acts, natures like criminal and seditious natures, wrongdoers, blamed on other causes, blamed on other things, blamed on others, blamed on selves, the real causes of such, like witch trials, like drugs. It was probably drugs that made them think that it was about witch trials. They were witches. That we have physically delusions wrought and criminally foreign influence premises treatments of our identity of law experts, our identity of experts, of the uses of our identity of the ground, communications, platforms, and positions and means and relationships to they have protests, maintain criminally foreign influence too, delusions wrought for illusions of there being the right to assembly. For example, legitimately, the only assembly that is only capable of being is our self-defeating, insidious natures of unity, incapable of defending their premises treatments and of standing someone trying to ask to have mandated law followed in relationship to recorded effectively bonded, breaching method bonded, juxtaposed natures of organized crime against each age, each area, each location, area, and state, let alone the most forsaken areas. More and more value. So because it's so easy to discern it using science. But more and more negative value that used as negative value. by the branches of government, pretending they're caring for these areas. They're victim predators, the same way they avert criminal enterprises with real sick people that they'd say can't be healed, can't be rehabilitated, because they're already they don't when they say that they're dishonest though. When they say that they're incapable of following mandated law, unless someone entertains their physical delusions, their criminally formed influence, premises treatments, time treatments. They self-value criminally foreign influence time treatments only having been known here and there when we have to have negotiations. Deal with things like NATO. What does that deal with? Crazy bombs. While we're still in the tactically since before cars, suits and ties trap. Know how it looks like a noose. Suits and ties slavery trap of our founders, our founding parents. Not as bad as the people hurt most by those crazy laws, but we can't. But the science forces our fact-cheating nature to be able to counter that, which we have to counter first and completely. And now we can't do it without dealing with what is actually recorded, which was the method that was against our founders too. We can't do that with words that were forced upon them, theater forced entertained by them. The specific nature of theater as criminal and seditious nature. The branches of government aren't going to teach you about this right. The schools that made them aren't going to teach about this right, because they were identity of the ground locations already having been used by other motivations and natures of the same old organized crime methods like extortion, like identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering, bonded uses of them way worse. All identity ground relationships formal, further life progressions in sustained ways. While we have these four sustained needs for negotiations, here and there they have the same problems. Here and there, everyone blamed all it causes on other things other than themselves. Again, the real causes of predicate acts, the real causes of criminal and seditious natures, of positive treatments. No, a criminal and seditious nature, someone criminally foreign influenced, they already had criminally foreign influence acts. They're going to have different takes on positive than someone with no criminal foreign influences. That's why it's not just words to start. Oh, it's cool to say we're native pure. This is per science, because our nature has a nature. Positive is a nature distinct from negative. Positive and negative go together with what is one identity's identity of relationship to itself. That one that needs to value individuals first. See, but they keep exceptions. They keep individuals for they have these exceptions because they understood this method understood the nature of volume we are, what we have to say, how it relates to our fact nature quality. So we don't have free speech. The same courts pretending to be against crimes with Russians are already recorded in collusion with these other nations, a whole bunch of them. Now, to help them there and here, to gain stability, for example, we just make a game out of it. The whole species has the evidence to agree, actually recorded evidence, and excuse me, actually recorded reporting capabilities. These are reporting capabilities incapable of being had and of defending identities of jobs, identities of networks as defendant. That those are also identity of the ground locations that are involved with known and unknown agencies' locations and uses of them, in collusion with all locations having been used originally and still. In the conjunction with not just uses remote, already used it remote. They already lied to themselves and to others every time, every day, every time they go to work, each identity of the law. Justices, prosecutors, victims advocates, women victims advocates used to prevent people's speech with various natures of things that people are brought to before them for, because they have been using databases for what they have to hide from presidents as people that presidents are forced to rely upon, not by accident, dishonestly, because that's the only constituencies available to leaders. Locations, areas, states, sciences, all database relationships, inclusion with and as the same archetypal criminal enterprise. This, which originally and still effectively juxtaposed overt criminal enterprises, is only capable of being as well. You think they had everyone locked down that well, but they're still going to be able to get off that such? So, in other words, American history, American everything now, CNN, Fox Connecticut News, MSNBC, all these topics they bring up have ties to identity of the ground. Identity of the ground also recorded used for organized crime acts like predicate acts. How that is motivated is also recorded. They're also using this method, lying about what is actually recorded over the phones, lying about what is actually recorded with their on their locations into branch. So we need to get them also from their crime methods with this, forging names and switching names, making confessions, uses of that time to attach people to fake words, fake reactions to their confessions, fake behavior, fake understanding, faked inculpatory evidences, faked locations they attach us to, faked relationships to other people they attach us to. No means to counter because they have been preventing me writing to respond to since I was a kid. They use crime methods pretending other by telling truths they know they used for and are using as lies. Like, for example, they presented charges like a charge of harassment, but they knew they criminally brought that up, forged names, falsified police reports, and lied about what is recorded online with sex offenders I caught them crimes with on and off campuses, child leaders of the kids, and further involved with my town's police chief's daughter, through time involved with all kinds of criminal uses of kids, sexual circles, things that unfold in relationship to their roles, spreading lies about people, attaching other kids, and themselves to fake locations, fake relationships to other people, fake natures of relationships to people. There's a Joshua Julian, also recorded and involved with a pattern of racketeering, worse than organized crime, worse than racketeering, with foreign and domestic on-off job sites, on-off interbranch through time, and associated with the transition from ACA to RICO. There were also I never had a conversation with my life. There were also people recorded, confessed, demonstrated tied to him, involved with body dumping spots criminally, like and overt criminal enterprises associated with those body dumping spots, like the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved also with depositions with Hartford courts associated with former director of the FBI and with his co-defendants involved with organized crime uses of houses in my area and of the proven child sex offenders' families, further then and now involved with predicate acts with their patients and criminals and doctors since before they were caught with their predicate acts roles on off child campuses, on off campuses of each age and nature, intercities connected through time, further and further. Connected while they're preventing mandated law. They already did it. They painted themselves into corners. There with these topics of treatments of Ukraine, of their treatments of their pretended credibility regarding the sense and sensibilities, their sequence treatments. They're involved with other since before right through the Obama administration, since before Obama even announced he was going to run for president of the United States. Connecticut intercampuses was already involved with predicate acts, with other nations' overt criminal enterprises. A serial killer, as one of the people further involved with them, with military families, on off the spot of his body dumping. Justin Klavinskis, his brother. I never met his brother, but his brother has a girlfriend. I never met her either. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a whole bunch of people involved with the corners around on Griswold Street and on Maple Street connected to that. As people further involved with predicate acts, roles on off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices, with the Fianza family and with the Dillon family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated where they're involved also with the criminal uses of Facebook, lying about what is actually recorded on Facebook. Because I got confessions from strangers who made confessions to me out of nowhere, intercities tied. Since before the Trade Center attack and after, but I got them to confirm it online. And then they lied about they hid that. And worse, they have New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page involved with the KNERR. A whole bunch of people with a Kerr family. Also with Jerry Miller, Officer Jerry Miller. Also two Mendez police involved with racketeering, worse than racketeering acts, roles, and methods on off WFSB. The business is next to them. The house is next to them. All associated with those locations, with areas and states maintain criminally foreign influence, worse than interstates. John Maiano and a Pausano also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with one of the houses involved with racketeering acts, worse than racketeering acts, sequence shifts roles with the courts and with the police forms. Now, see, their crime methods are completely fact sheet in nature. Are tied to their racketeering methods, worse than racketeering methods, criminally preventing writing, criminally having done so and pretended not to realize by criminally just putting charges, but then keep pretending they make mistakes with things. Keep going forward with having kids and adults keep coming back to courts. While more and more they're stacking more fake things, fake recorded things into databases. Uses of their identity ground locations, no. Each identity of those of New Britain Superior Court, each difference of those identities. And altogether, they are recorded how maintained effectively. Criminally foreign influence, delusions, raw victim predators, roles with women, interbranch through administrations with child offenders, attaching children and their family members to fake locations, fake words with themselves and with others. fake the same people, private, tied to the interbranch, tied to intercampuses predicate acts, sequence shifts, uses of that from those locations. Now there's a Gold family. I also never had also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with FBI and with CIA, with the same house slash S, further involved with juxtaposed natures of racketeering with the child sex offenders' families. Further, as one's on and off the child sex offender principal's campus then and now, since before he was caught. They use making charges against people. They hid what was actually recorded over the phones with women judges and prosecutors, with predicate acts roles, sequence shift roles, roles forging names and switching names, roles criminally preventing anything in writing, falsifying police reports, switching the names of arresting officers with ones that weren't even there, pretending other, like a detective Samuda pretended he switched identities. He was never an arresting officer of me. He came into the Britain Superior Court as a person I didn't even recognize. I never saw him in my life. I saw him one time. I think listening to the guy from a distance. A girl told me he was calling her on the phone. One of the ones also involved with the sexual circles as the ones with the houses in my area. Further involved with the principal sex offender and other sex offenders campus family. Further involved with people associated with them, also recorded as patients of, and as people associated with doctors, even ones with badges. Further involved with World Trade Center racketeering acts roles, worse than racketeering acts roles, worse than war crimes leading up to the Trade Center in that context. These are people associated with Heather Hansen, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with a whole bunch of other men and women with Central Connecticut State University and with Trinity College, involved with predicate acts with judges and with the police forms and with prosecutors and with their family members and with doctors, foreign and domestic, and with the policing of campuses and with houses next to campuses involved, and with businesses next to campuses involved with them, with mail crimes, wire crimes, identity thefts, frauds, racketeering, sequence shifts, whole group sequence shifts, names forging, switching, roles with tactical prevention of people knowing names of people they need to know in relationship to the interbranch, lying about what is actually recorded over phones, lying what is actually recorded with by their locations. So we have courts originally still sicker than witch trials, sicker than them pretending to be against such. For example, pretending to believe it was most probably about them getting high off of a drug. These are the same people with the drug countering bodies recorded in the furtherance of uses of their databases to falsify fake medical information about people, pretend people would take drugs because they're experts against such. They don't even know the people. Pretend they have conversations with me about police equipment, about my family, about their legal cases. Then 2 more times I went to the Harvard hospital. They forced me there because they're preventing because this is that has everyone speaking to other people before that. See, they can't speak about anything because they're caught. Before that, I already recorded them. You can't record the police. I made them record themselves. That's why I had to yell and force people to call the police without telling them why. They took the truth that I raised my voice and they attached me to fake conversations about it with themselves. No. The other 2 times they had some women come up and ask me a quick question about my father's cases. I just said like yeah or no. But whatever they wrote is recorded, they lie about it. Nothing. I didn't say anything like they said in the mail before that. I had no conversation with anyone. There's no one. I didn't say yes to anyone like that about my father's kid. I had no conversation with for 3 days. They forced me into a triage, onto a institute of living on the campus of Hartford Hospital. This place was founded in 1822, with slavery still left in Connecticut in the North, by what our founders had to leave entrenched here, even with the French general's help. George Washington could only send me a counter extort that which was entrenched with all those crazy slavery laws against our founding parents, let alone the people hurt tactically by it then and now, specifically to keep us from understanding and even realizing that how our founders were not free. And realize from how even realizing that actually recorded motivations for our stewards and just everyone pretending other with passions and emotions. Oh, how come our founders put up the Constitution that says we're supposed to have free speech if they didn't have free speech? They had to hide their roles with that. They had to entertain slavery, North and South, still entrenched. By what actually recorded. Can't tell that and defend with their narratives in relationship to what is positive or negative in relationship to our founders, their words, interpretations of them, interpretations of the statutes, Marbury versus Madison. The interpretations of Marbury versus Madison are by delusions, wrought, criminally foreign influence, fact treating natures, interbranch, in conjunction, collusion with overt criminal enterprises and with private ones originally instilled, intermilitary, effectively maintain criminally foreign influence. So respond for them. And when we'll set up, the species will understands that we need to counter things like wars and things that lead up to them needing such. The desperation, because we have value nature systems that are worse than forsaken. Recorded criminally foreign influence, delusions wrought. Recorded tied to only capable of producing peaceful sanctionings, bodies, and peaceful intelligence gathering, needs for such maintained, can't defend that. And what from what uses it remote? They're using the identity of the ground location, they're using the identity of each branch, they're using the identity of each science, criminally foreign influence, delusions rock. Here and there, Saudi Arabia even, they are preventing the first part of the Quran, anyone from having free speech, quality of fact, cheap in nature, with sequence true, with the order of the value of the finite true, with the value of the order that what is active true, positive true at the same time, identity true at the same time. They have identities, forced group value, criminally wrong, forced individual wrong, forced unity wrong, identity of negative value, nature progression out of sequence. When they are valuing that simultaneously, what is individual grouped needs and rights, not just rights, needs, and altogether needs, they are valuing individual first in sequence. That's where evolution comes from too. Its fruits and needs. One way redeems. That reveals a nature of integrity to everything in every science instantly. This reveals a nature of human relations, not just to reliefs, but to be able to fathom and to be able to handle fathoming, because we still have state or locations, not just the branches of government all tied to them privately, not all the sciences, all the database relationships. Everyone hasn't been involved with that. That is only capable of having, that was only capable, not by accident, of being live progressions to each location further and further. This made Native Americans blame other things other than themselves. They didn't have time to do any other thing else. They're already separated from their quality of fact, human nature, are revealed and developed originally. Development. They put development in the minds of people, nations, criminally foreign influenced, delusions wrought. It's important to understand that. Important to understand physical delusions of psychology, of each of the sciences, of the various natures of courts, recorded consciously knowing that and pretended other, with physical delusions, with whole crime methods, and how their family members are involved with it. How whoever they're next to, they're attaching them and everyone to fake words, fake sequences, with fake locations. Now you sustain that. Everyone's needing to chase positive as the only way you know them. Perfect world forsaken, not by accident. The perfect world that leads this legion pure, not one that's trained, not one that's gained. Since some ancient times. Since before the births of modern nations, religions, thank God for them. So I'll do a video on the God variable in relationship to the identity of all things at once. What we think is about it and what we know is about it always. We have to be able to communicate this through fake passions and emotions. For example, criminal seriousness natures that never had a right to be legalized. All right? So this will change everything. We have to give nations that have nuclear weapons means to counter each other by setting up all the nations at once as a weapon and as a system that will enable them to use. That's not going to be what they do. Oh, we're going to punch this fake side identity now. That's what they have to do. There's frustrated reactions, originally still. Made up or not. One thing the witch trials was and is about, every time they open their mouths about it, make opinion about it, interbranch, is about their frustrated reactions as knaves. Every modern nation's sciences and identities of law and identities of jobs and of experts and of sciences, they're all criminally foreign influence, not by accident. They're all styles manifest, only capable of valuing criminally foreign influence precedents and statutes originally still. Where and how? They have to pretend to be integrity anyway. They have no integrity. So we have to teach them to follow mandated law. Now,